The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of ParaX, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
It's coming.
All these voices. All these voices.
They're not yours. You had no right to them when you were alive, and you have no right to them when you're dead. That's what it sounded like. Good, you know who I am. And you know I'm not playing. You're going to let those women go. In Jesus' name, you're going to let those women go.
Is there a demon here watching us right now? I'm just watching us right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Staring into the Abyss. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr., and with me, as always, my co-host, old boy James Ash. How you doing, brother?
Good evening, misfits, sugar ladies, monster lovers, demon hunters. How's your motherfucking night?
Tonight's episode is going to be pretty interesting. On tonight's episode, we're going to be looking at a sonar capture that was done at Lake Champlain, and it purportedly shows Champ. So essentially what we're dealing with here tonight is that Champ has been captured, at least on Sonar. So what I want to do, can you throw that up on the screen so that they can see that? So this is the Sonar capture. This is the photograph of the Sonar capture that was done by the gentleman. As you can see, it plainly looks like what we would expect Champ to look like. You know, it looks like a plesiosaur, honestly. Now, whether this is actually a plesiosaur or whether it is just kind of one of those coincidental kind of things where it's something that looks like something that isn't. Those are both options. Or this guy could be completely full of crap. It could be a completely doctored photograph. It does come from coast to coast, so that would lead you to believe that it is kind of on the up and up. The idea that it could possibly be coincidental, that it just happens to take that shape and look like that, but it's not a solid object under there that looks like that, that's a little far-fetched to me. But anyway, now you've seen it. So now we'll go ahead and take this back off the screen. Okay, so as you can plainly see, it definitely looks like a plesiosaur. I mean, that's the only way to describe it. Now, like I said when the picture was up, there's a couple different options here. It can either be that it is a completely fake and doctored photograph. It could be that it's a coincidence, that it appears to be a plesiosaur or some sort of aquatic dinosaur, but in all reality it's just a school of fish. The odds of that, I would say, are pretty slim, of a school of fish making that exact shape. Or it could be exactly what it looks like, and that is Champ. So those are the basic three options. The guy's full of crap, it's a coincidence, it's just a school of fish or something like that, or it's actually Champ. It comes from coast to coast, so I trust coast to coast. I'll say that right up front. So I would say that the chance of it being just a school of fish is almost zero. I'm going to discount that right away. I don't think coast to coast would be putting up something that's an obvious fake. So that only really leaves us with one answer here, and that is that this gentleman has captured Champ on Sonar. Now, there's an article that goes along with it. It's on the Coast to Coast website. It's not very long. That's why I'm not doing the article tonight, because literally it's 3 or 4 paragraphs, and that's it. So there's not a ton of information there. But it does include the photograph and tells us what it is and where it was taken and all that. So to me, if this is a real photograph, and I'm leaning towards that it is, that means that they actually proved that Champ is there, that he exists. that there is some sort of large aquatic animal living in Lake Champlain. And the shape of that animal is very, very reminiscent of either a plesiosaur or of one of the relatives of a plesiosaur in that family. It looks a lot like one. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, James, it can't be, because if there were plesiosaurs in Lake Champlain, we would know about it. We would have already found them. I mean, it's been a long time, and we would have known that they were there. Well, let's take this and let's talk about Nessie as well. Nessie, we have learned that Nessie has been spotted out in the ocean as well. And we also learned that Loch Ness is connected to the ocean through a series of channels and flooded underwater tunnels that leads all the way out to the ocean. So the working theory that I have on Nessie is that Nessie will go into the loch to probably breed and then go back out to the ocean most of the time. So if you're talking out in the ocean, it's easy to not know that it's there. It's easy for that thing to avoid detection. And it gets seen in the loch quite a bit. Now, I'm not sure if Lake Champlain connects in any way to the ocean. But I do know that Lake Champlain is a massive, massive lake. I mean, it goes in between countries, so it is fairly substantial. So I would say that there's probably plenty of area for that thing to hide. Also, Champ is quite a bit smaller than what Nessie is. So it may be a plesiosaur that got landlocked at some point. If Lake Champlain does not connect to the ocean in any way, then maybe the case is back when it did, this thing swam in there. Not just one. I'll talk about that in a minute. But they swam in there, and when that closed up, it was trapped in Lake Champlain. Now, the reason I said it can't just be one. It can't just be one at Loch Ness, and it can't just be one at Lake Champlain. Because if there is only one, and there's sightings going back hundreds of years, that means that what we're dealing with is not a flesh and blood animal. It is some sort of supernatural creature. And I don't believe that Champ or Nessie is a supernatural creature of any type. I believe that what we're dealing with here is a flesh and blood animal, most likely a plesiosaur or some other sort of aquatic dinosaur that fits that bill, that looks like that. And I believe that it has survived since prehistoric times. Now, there has to be more than one, because there has to be a breeding population with enough genetic diversity to keep going, okay? You all know what happens in cases of incest. The royal family is a prime example of that. So they continuously interbred in their own bloodline. And what you ended up with was defective children. You ended up with children that had severe physical deficits and mental deficits as well. Their health was not good. They were a bit mad, and they didn't have very long lives, a lot of them. Now, we never will know how long some of them might have lived, because some of them had very tragic ends. But they were all defective in one way or another. The same thing happens in the animal kingdom. If you do not have enough genetic diversity in a breeding population, then what you end up with is interbreeding. And then you end up with defective offspring that sometimes, a lot of times, will be infertile, so they can't breed. Or they will be severely mentally handicapped or physically handicapped to where they are not an attractive partner for breeding. So you're going to have the population shrink and shrink and shrink until it disappears. So you have to have a set number in order to have enough genetic diversity to keep that line going over the years. Now, in this case, we're talking a long, long time, since the time that plesiosaurs were here. We're talking a million years or more. So there has to be a fairly substantial breeding population, several thousand, I would say, to keep it alive and going to this day. It could be that if this thing got trapped in Lake Champlain way back then, when it did connect to the ocean, then that would mean that it has been in Lake Champlain for many, many, many generations. If that is the case, then it will have adapted to its surroundings, and that would explain why it's smaller than Nessie, who travels out to the ocean and probably spends the majority of its time in the ocean. So that doesn't make it smaller. If it has the whole ocean to swim around in, and it only goes into the small area of Loch Ness to breed, then the majority of the time it's out in the ocean, it's not going to get smaller because it has all that room. Whereas if Champ is stuck in Lake Champlain, it will shrink because it's not as big as the ocean. You know what I mean? It doesn't have as much space, especially if there's a breeding population in Lake Champlain of a lot of these things. Multiple hundred, maybe even multiple thousands. So that would explain why there has been a lot of sightings of Champ throughout the years. It's not just one particular animal. It is multiple animals, a lot of them. So you're seeing them here, there, and everywhere. That would also explain why there are differences in the photos of both Champ and Nessie. Why some photos look a certain way and then other photos don't look that way, They look like different animals. And that's probably because they were. I do believe that what we're dealing with is some sort of, it's either got to be an aquatic dinosaur of some type, or it has to be an unknown species. I don't buy the whole, what you're looking at is a sturgeon. Look at that sonar picture. That's not a sturgeon. Okay, a sturgeon is a long, thin fish. It's not real wide. Doesn't have like big fins coming off of it down at the bottom like that. It doesn't have what looks to be a tail. It's just a fish. It's a long fish, but it's just a fish. That's what a sturgeon is. So I don't buy that that's what we're looking at. I also don't buy that we're looking at some sort of bird that is going under for fish and surfacing. So what you're seeing is not this part of the bird, the head, as it comes up out of the water. And what you're seeing is not the hump of the fish as it goes under to get the food. That's not what we're looking at here. What we're looking at here is the entire creature underwater in a sonar photograph. So that plainly shows the outline of the creature's body. Okay? So my money is on plesiosaur. If it's not a plesiosaur, my money would be on some sort of relative to the plesiosaur. So this is an exciting moment. We all need to kind of take a second to just enjoy this moment, because in all reality, we're looking at potentially, if this is all on the up and up, we are looking at proving the existence of a cryptid creature. So we're going to have a cryptid that goes from the land of cryptozoology to the realm of zoology. And that's a pretty special moment. Now, it's not unheard of. It has happened several times in my lifetime. It happened with the silverback gorilla. Everybody said that was a myth down in the Congo, that it didn't exist, that the only accounts they had was of the villagers there, the locals, the natives. And they said, oh, those are backwards ass people. They're savages. They don't know anything. And what they're talking about is nuts, because if there was a species of primate living in that area, we would know. Turns out they didn't know. The natives knew, because guess what? They lived there. So that's why they know. So the silverback gorilla went from being cryptid to regular zoology. Awesome. The coelacanth is another great example of this. That's a prehistoric fish that they caught off the coast of Madagascar that was supposedly went extinct millions of years ago, and now we know it's not extinct. This kind of thing happens every once in a while, and it's a cause for celebration in my book. Now, I want to talk real quick about some of the cryptids that I think will be proven to actually exist in my lifetime. First and foremost, the big daddy, the king of all of them, Bigfoot. I think that Sasquatch will be proven real in my lifetime. I think that we will have an actual specimen that we can scientifically verify is a living, breathing, well, probably not breathing at that point, but the population is breathing animal. My money for Sasquatch would be Gigantopithecus. That is an early hominid species that was one of the branches of humanity. It was separate than us. It wasn't us at all. But it was like us, if that makes sense. It was a bipedal hominid species from the ancient past. I think some of them survived. And I think that not only did some of them survive, I think that there are fairly large and substantial populations still out in the wild areas where people don't go. You know, I myself have seen one before in my life. So I know that they do exist, and I think that it will be proven that they do exist. Another one is the megalodon shark. I believe that the megalodon still exists in the ocean. I think that it will be proven that it still exists in the ocean. Now, you run into the same kind of problems with the megalodon as you do with the idea of a plesiosaur still being around in either Loch Ness or Lake Champlain. And that is, it's too big. It's too big, and we would know. See, mankind has this egocentric idea that nothing can exist or take place outside of our knowledge of it. So we believe that if something as large as the megalodon shark existed, that we would have seen it. The problem is we have seen its work. We have had great white sharks wash up with gigantic bites taken out of them that match the bite radius of the megalodon. So that should tell you that something out there is taking bites out of great white sharks. And I don't think it's a whale, because the overwhelming majority of whales aren't predators, not on any big scale. I mean, most of them eat small fish. They open their mouths and just swim, and a bunch of them come in, and that's how they eat. And some of them eat algae and plankton and little microscopic stuff. That's what they eat. Now, you do have some like the killer whale that do eat actual other fish, but I don't see them taking on a great white. A great white is bigger than a killer whale, or at least the same size. You know, a full-grown Big Daddy great white. I don't see that winning that fight. The funny thing is that even though the megalodon is gigantic, much larger than the great white shark, the great white shark did exist in the time of the megalodon, and it survived. And it actually thrived in the time of the megalodon. The reason for that is speed and mobility. Now, the megalodon is much, much more powerful, but the great white is faster. And the turn radius on a great white is only a couple feet. That means it can turn its whole body around in a couple feet and come the other direction. A megalodon has a long, wide turn radius. Imagine the difference between like a sports car. You can whip it around and go the other way, going down a road, one in 360 turns like on Fast and Furious. That's the great white shark. Now imagine a school bus. That's the megalodon. You're not whipping a school bus around in the right there in the freeway and going the other way. That thing makes a long wide turn. Or a tractor trailer, long wide turn. That's the megalodon. It simply couldn't turn on itself like the great white can. So what that means is the great white was able to evade the majority of megalodon attacks. So that's why it survived. Little interesting trivia for you. But if it's not the megalodon that has taken bites out of great whites, what is? Now I know that there have been whales that have done that before, but not very often. And the bite radius is different. So I would say that the likelihood of something like the megalodon still existing in small numbers, it has to have a breeding population, but small numbers in comparison to the population of other species of shark and also the size of the ocean. The chance of something like that existing, especially in cold water, someplace up north where not a lot of people go. The only people up there are like crab fishermen and stuff, something like that I could see happening because the megalodon is very large, so it can take much colder temperatures and it can swim a lot deeper. So I think that the chance of it being deep in the ocean and up north is pretty good if it still exists. Let me know down in the comments section what you guys think about the megalodon. Do you think that it still exists, or do you think that it died out millions of years ago? Also, do you think that Bigfoot exists? And do you think that it will be found in our lifetime? I think both of these will end up being proven because they're looking for both. Once science really gets an idea that they want to look for something and figure it out, they kind of figure it out. Plus, there's been a lot of movies about Bigfoot and about the megalodon shark recently. That famous The Meg movies with Jason Statham. And then you've got a lot of Bigfoot movies that have been coming out too. And whenever I see a bunch of movies on the same subject in one period, and it's not like the fad, whatever the fad is, like remember when Twilight came out and everything, there was all them vampire movies? This isn't a fad. This is just, they decided for whatever reason they're going to put out a bunch of movies about this same thing. And in all the Megalodon movies, they're talking about that it lives in the trench, the Mariana Trench. So that kind of makes me think maybe they know something. And they're just trying to get us used to the idea before they tell us. Could be. Let me know what you think. So I'm going to throw it back over to Old Boy and get his opinion on all this. And then I'll be back to wrap up. So Old Boy, go ahead, brother.
Good evening, misfits and sugar ladies, monster lovers, and demon hunters. Here we go about lake monsters. Champ sighting in Lake Champlain. Similar to the same kind of creature. It's a little bit smaller than Nessie in Scotland. Lake Champlain, if you guys know where it's at. It's in between New York, Vermont, and it even goes into North Canada and Quebec, certain parts. Some parts, the lake is 120 meters. Most of it's 50 meters by the shore, and there is beach people who go to the beach, and there's been over 300 accidents there too, because it's a really huge. It goes. If you see the map, if you ever go look it up, guys. It's a giant lake. Apparently, a gentleman was doing sonar out there, and he has a picture of supposedly on the sonar radar of Champ. It looks like a plesiosaur. You guys can read the article. James said it. We got it from Coast to Coast. By the way, rest in peace, George Knipp. He passed away like a couple weeks ago. And just forgot to say something about it. He was another big influence, just like Art Bell on Coast to Coast. I just wanted to say that because I used to listen to him on the weekends. That being said, so apparently this gentleman took a video of him. Thurbert, I think is his last name. And some people are, everybody's going to be spectacle of it. And it shows a picture, you can see it. It looks like a sonar, but it looks like a shape of a plesiosaur. Or champ. So apparently 450 to 480 million years they were there. Those monsters actually existed. Not monsters, but dinosaurs. And some think that it survived or mutated or changed, or just like Nessie, it survived somehow. Champ is a very awesome story because even in Canada they consider it real, and they have it where you can't hunt champ. Even in that lake they have it as a protected species because so many sightings. The thing's supposed to be like 25 to 30 feet long. Some say 40. It's not as big as Nessie. Nessie's bigger. And there's been numerous ones. There's like a few of them. Maybe they're like a distant cousins. Maybe a different kind of species. Maybe a evolved species to live in that lake. It's got smaller instead of bigger. So that's why it, instead of it being 60 feet, 70 feet tall, it's 30, 40 feet, maybe 25, some of them. So it's half the size of what a regular plesiosaur would be. And one of the researchers was talking about it. It's like one of the first sightings in a while. Miss Elizabeth was one of the researchers was talking about it. It hasn't been a sighting like this for a long time, especially on sonar. I mean, people have seen it like a couple of years ago or something, and here and there everybody says it, but there's most of it's becoming not true. I mean, there's been so many sightings of this thing for 100 years or longer. But I've seen it on it's like our version of the Loch Ness Monster. Champ is becoming, Lake Champlain has always been it's not that big of story. Like, it's getting bigger because people are now finding out about it, but it's never going to be Nessie. Nessie's one of the biggest crypto stories of all time. That's like the Kings right there. You want to go the top, my top 5. The King is Bigfoot, then Nessie, probably Mothman, the Chupacabra. You got, what's the other thing? Dogman now, that's becoming a big one. That's another one I could put on that right now. And the Jersey Devil. Those are the big ones that everybody talks about. But Champ's getting there. Champ's one of them. Like the Abominable Snowman and Champ are getting in the top. I'd probably say the top 15 cryptos now being talked about. Because if I was going to do a Mount Rushmore, it would be Bigfoot, Nessie, Mothman, and a lot of people are going to be surprised about this. It would probably be Jersey Devil. Those are the big ones. Man, it was a stranger. It's supposed to be the devil, and it was some kind of weird demon monster. Others think it's a crypto. Some people have seen it, some haven't. But I've never really been a big fan of the Jersey Devil. Even though I lived in Pennsylvania, I've heard of it. But those are mine. Champ has always been an interesting story because I love crypto, especially dinosaurs. And like megalodons and plesiosaurs. I just like them. They're just... And other dinosaur sea animals. They just... Beautiful. They're beautiful. Have you ever seen what they look like? I know we haven't seen them, but what they think they look like, they're very beautiful animals. Mammals and lizards. I don't know. There's arguments. Some think they were birds. Some think they're mammals. Some were animals. I don't know. I'm just saying they were beautiful creatures. We'll just say creatures. Sorry. I love dinosaurs altogether. That's one of my favorite topics. If you guys want to get something on me, I love watching dinosaur movies. I like some of the Jurassic Park movies, like the first ones, and the new ones are pretty decent. The second one was all right. Third one was just... The other ones, the newer ones, are pretty decent. The new one, it just came out, and it is what it is. And I liked raptors. I think those are badass. I wish they were real. There's a lot of sightings saying they are. You never know. All these rainforests and stuff we have, you never know what's out there. Do I think that sonar is real? I've seen the picture. It could be. I'm not going to say it's a lie. It's about a 50-50. I believe he's not lying. Maybe he seen something different. Because with sonar, it's better than it used to be, but it looks like it's something. But it could have been something else. A school of fish. It could be like a log. Could be a couple things, but it looks like it's a plesiosaur. Or it could be champ. It might be. If you guys look at it, look at it, and tell me what you guys think. We always want to hear your comments. Let us know what you think about champ. Do you believe it? Do you think it's just bullshit, or do you think it's a real creature? I do. I think it exists. I believe a lot of things exist, and people don't want to believe it because they're scared to know if it's real or not. And that's just life. You know how people do things. And that's how people do things, you know. If they're scared of something, they make bullshit about it, or they live off of fear and they make stories off of it. But champ is, what I've heard, is not a real monster. It's like, yes, if it gets scared, it's attack stuff and it's ate animals maybe, but most of the time it runs away. Or not run away, it swims away. Or they said one time, I watched it on Monster Quest, this lady said that she saw a champ walking across the street, not walking, but crawling across the street. And this is what it was on Monster Quest years ago. And I was like, come on. It is what it is. These things, if they do exist, those lakes are huge. They have a place they're hiding. They know about humans. I think they're smart enough to know. They're like whales. They're probably smarter than whales because they've been around, so they know what's bad and what's good. They have, sense it. They have built-in sonar. They know when to come and when they not to. They just don't care. I don't think they're scared of humans. They know what we are. They've been around for hundreds of years now, so they know that humans are real. And they probably seen us, whatever they see, they know when stuff's around. They just have been very good avoiding us. Sometimes, not all the time, though, because people see them all the time. Just like Loch Ness. Again, I hope. See, in Champagne, they made laws about this. You can't do nothing. You can't kill them. You can go to jail over that. Scotland, not too much. They're trying to make laws right now. You can't catch and fish for them. They're trying to make it where you can't kill them. But people are arguing it, and it's a different country. Here in Canada and America, Canada has a different opinion. They don't even want you to touch it. They want you to leave it alone. America kind of does too. They want to catch it, but you can't kill it. It's actually an endangered species. So once that happened, and I believe they are, I think it should be left alone. Those kind of creatures should be left alone. If we find them, that's great. Leave them there. Don't kill them. We already know what they are. I mean, if one dies, then that's different. My personal opinion, things like that should be left alone. If we find out they're real, then we find out how to take care of them and protect them to make more. They can coexist with us because they've been coexisting for years, hundreds of years, thousands of years. They've been around for millions and they survived. We can coexist with them just like sharks, megalodons, the same thing. These are not something that's impossible. They existed at one time. People got to read. These things were real. Now, Bigfoot and all that, the giant ape did, 13, 14 feet high. They were the giant plisticus. I'm probably saying the wrong name, is a real creature that existed. And they could be an ancestor from that. It could be something a little different. Bigfoot could be a real creature. And it probably is. Jersey Devil is arguably something else. Mothman's arguably something else. Chupacabra is probably real. They've already took pictures of it and stuff. See, there's different ones. There's the South American and the Mexican one, and they both look different. One looks like a dog, and they've already proven it. The other one's supposed to be some kind of weird flying alien. He sucks goat's blood. They both do. That's because of Chupacabra's goat sucker. So that's something. I think one's a mutated creature, and the other one is maybe an alien species, or the government did something. That's a possibility. We don't know that one. Do I believe that they probably saw it? That's probably a possibility, what we're seeing on Sonar. It's hard to lie about that stuff now, guys. It's fucking, they're getting high tech. It's 224. Not 1968, 78. It's 2024. It's a different world now. Again, it would be nice to just be able to see these things and we could figure out to stay away from them. And, we're gonna see them eventually. Maybe just coexist. Once we find out how to protect them and handle them, it won't be a big deal anymore. Yes, they could come out, the young ones can probably know we not really mess with us. And we should leave it that way. Bigfoot and all these other creatures, yeah. Mothman's a whole different story. That could be something else. Jersey Devil could be something else. Dogman's a whole different story. That's 6 or 7 different versions of it. I don't know what they are. They could be a werewolf, a dog hybrid, but it's something. And there's like 8 or 9 different versions of it now or something like that they're saying. So 8, 7 or something. So there's a whole bunch of them. There's like the bear one. It's like half bear hybrid. There's a hybrid dog kind of thing. It looks like a wolf, but it's huge. A bear, it's huge. The other one's like 10 feet tall. It's just, there's different breeds. I want to do another show about Dogman. I always liked that show. I've always enjoyed those shows for me to do. And I really like doing those ones. Maybe we'll do it. See, we're opening up another show for like always. I don't want to randomly talk all the time. The article is not that big. If you guys looked at it, it's not a big article, so there's not a lot of talk about it. Now we can just get into everything and what we think. I believe that Lake Champlain has a few more of those in there, not just that. I think Loch Ness Monster does. I think there's stuff in the ocean. I mean, sea serpents, monsters, giant octopus, the megalodon, giant megasauruses or something sauruses. I forgot. I'm probably forget Agasaurus or something. I forget what there's different creatures that were in the ocean. Yeah, and they were one. I forget some of the names for them, but they're huge. There's like that one. It's from Jurassic Park. He's like, it's huge. It ate the megalodon. So yeah, Ankylosaurus or so. I'm probably messing the name up, but they were huge. They're like 60 feet long or something. They were vicious. They're pretty badass though, man. I like I said, I love dinosaurs. It's just one of my favorite things of all time. That's one of my dreams. I would love to see a dinosaur before I die. I know it probably won't happen, but they are going to try to. They're already starting to do mammoths. They already said they're already started doing it. 2 years ago they started doing it. Probably didn't longer than that. They're just saying that shit. You know how they are. They lie about everything. But they're going to bring woolly mammoths back. I think saber-toothed tigers. They're going to make it like in Russia. They want to do this amusement park because they can deal with the weather there. That's where their habitat was. I don't know why, but they're going to do it. Like I said, other countries are going to do what they want to do. They don't give a fuck what we think. They always have. Russia especially don't care what we think. They've been doing whatever they wanted forever. Just like they're making their own moon bases, and China's doing the same thing. China wants to do something too similar, like a Jurassic Park, and they're already doing it. There's rumors of that. They found another thing is I want to do a show about it. They supposedly found a hole opened up in their country in China, and they said that there's a forest that goes down. It's like this big, giant area, and supposedly there's a bunch of prehistoric animals there, even giant dinosaurs about 20 feet tall. And this may be a rumor because we know how TikTok and all this stuff, but supposedly this happened. I want to find out more about it and maybe do a show down the line, another opening for another show, guys. That's what we do. We always find stuff. We're going to always find stuff. The paranormal, crypto, conspiracy theories, aliens is always going to be. History will always be there. So this is always going to happen. We're always going to be on your fucking TV. Old boy, James, Big Daddy Hershey, I'm just playing, will always be there. Staring, Tales of the Abyss, Vapor, Shadow's Pit. It's going to be a household name. It's already getting there, but we've got a cult following, but we're getting bigger. Like, people in the field know who we are, the big names. And we're not even really a cult following. We're actually becoming a well-known, super well-known. And I'm proud of that. And I'm proud of you guys for being fans. I love you guys, and I want you guys to know that. Because this is our 7th year anniversary on Staring into the Abyss. And And I loved every minute of it with you guys, dude. I love doing this show. I love doing the show with James. We're going to do this till we die. You remember that. And you'll always be able to see these shows. I think we're almost like at 300 episodes or something or more. I think it's over that. Maybe it's around that. 300 and something, 50, I don't know. We got so much content, hours and thousands and hours. And he has side stuff he does. You have enough stuff to last you for another 10 years. Unless you listen to it like over and over, probably about 5 years at least. But there's so much stuff. And by the time we're done, you 10, 15 years worth of stuff. How to survive things, conspiracy, aliens, champ, monsters, ghosts, goblins, hell, Satan, Christian, angels, the rapture, everything is being talked about. Slender Man, creepypasta, Dracula, Dogman, Bigfoot, fucking anything's out there. We'll talk about it. Just how we are, guys. And you know how we are. We're trying to get more and more content. We're getting, for the last 7 years we've done, now we just do these videos live now. That was over a year ago. We started, a year and a half. We started doing that. You should actually see who the fuck's talking. For years, you didn't know who some of these guys were on radio stations and stuff, and now you do. I know I look different when I started 7 years ago. I weigh about 235, and I used to weigh 295, 290. So, I'm not that big anymore. So, and I've got a long goatee, fucking beard. But I was 38 when I started doing this. I'm 45 now. James is 49. He started doing this 42. So this is how long we've been doing it, man. We've grown for years. I can't wait to 10 years, man. A decade. That's crazy. I can't wait. Only 3 more years, guys. 3 more fucking years. A decade. A lot of people can't say that. A lot of people can't say 7 years. A lot of people can't say 5. 1. We've been around for 7 fucking years, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed our shows. Champ, I think, is a real monster. Not a monster. Or I don't even like to call him. Is a real living dinosaur. Or plesiosaur, or whatever you want to call it. And I think they exist. And I think this guy probably got a sonar of it. It was on Coast to Coast, so some people are going to say, oh, it's Coast to Coast, of course. There's a lot of a lot of people who don't believe it. I'm trying to say the word, I'm not going to get it out. And, how my vocabulary is. I've always had issues saying certain words, guys. It's part of my problems. I don't have problems, my disabilities. I've always had ADHD, and I have speech problems, and I'm saying certain words. So if you ever watched me now, you'll understand why I fucking say weird shit. But I don't let that ever tender that my life is anything people should feel bad for me. Never. Everybody, I think, has disabilities in some ways. And it's just the way you work through them. And I have. But I think the creature does exist. I think this is probably another sighting. It's exciting to me because I can't wait till they find them. But like I said, I hope they just leave them alone or leave them in their own habitat, because it isn't our business to mess with these things. But it's our business to save them and protect them from any poachers or any assholes that want to put it on their fucking wall. I have no problem with hunters, guys. Remember that. James doesn't either. He's a big time hunter. But when you just kill something just to kill it, and you're not eating the meat, that's why I have problems with people who go to Africa and they pay to kill these old ass lions that can't defend themselves, and they're just picking them off. That's fucking ridiculous, bro. Like, deer hunting's cool if you're eating the meat, and most people do. Most people deer hunt and eat the meat, and they also try to save the species. They let it multiply so they could, they feed. Most hunters are out there feeding them, making sure they're not getting poisoned or killed by poachers. I don't like poachers who just kill them and take their antlers, or just use them to sell to make money off, like with elephants and shit. Shit pisses me off When they kill elephants and cut off their tusks and leave them to die, it's fucking ridiculous. James, that irritates James. Trust me. That's pointless. It's pointless to kill something for nothing. Just to take that. What are they going to kill them for the fins and leave the body? No, it's just that's bullshit. Poachers suck. Just like they did with the giant gorillas, they killed them and cooked their skin and shit. Never. Those are awesome creatures. Just irritates me. That's what I'm afraid of. Right there, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I did. It was something different. It was monsters again. I hope you guys had a great New Year's. It's the new year now. 2024. 7 years now. 7 years of staring into the abyss. I hope you guys enjoyed it. You guys want to follow us on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to James Hershey's YouTube page. We're on Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, all over the place. We're probably going to be on TV one day, sooner than later. You guys want merchandise, he'll tell you where to go. Like I said, we always want to hear feedback. Let us know what you want us to talk about. We'll always be glad to talk about everything. It's been a fun ride, guys, and we're going to keep doing it forever. I promise you. You guys want to watch us on Parax Radio every Sunday nights, 12 a.m. Eastern, 9 Pacific, and the Best of Show, Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. I love you guys. Have a good night, Misfit, Sugar Ladies, Monster Lovers, and Demon Hunters. I love you and have a great night. I love you, and blessed be, motherfuckers.
Thank you, brother. It's kind of interesting to me that Old Boy talks about he has like basically a learning disability where he has trouble speaking different words and stuff like that. And we talked about this privately a lot, and he's come very, very far in his life to overcome that problem. And I've told him before, there's no shame in that, man. The truth of the matter is, I also have a disability. I have Tourette syndrome. That's why when you hear me breathing through my nose sometimes after I speak, it'll be like a exhale like that. That's one of my tics, and I have a lot of different tics, and I've learned how to control them. I'm not on any kind of medication. But in the early years, there was a lot of editing that had to go into the show to cut out some of those tics. And every once in a while, you'll still see me kind of like move my head in a weird way or twitch my shoulders in a weird way or something or blink a lot. And there's always that exhale that happens as well. That's my Tourette syndrome. Sometimes it gets very bad, and I have to postpone the show for an hour or two until I can get myself calmed down and back under control. Because sometimes the tics get so severe that I literally can't go on, you know? And so it's interesting to me that you have two guys that have disabilities that would keep them from doing radio normally. Somebody who can't talk very well because he has a learning disability, and somebody who has Tourette syndrome that makes them have all kinds of weird audible tics and gestures and stuff like that that keeps them from properly conveying their messages, right? Both of us. But here you have an example of mind over matter, you know, the iron will conquering the physical. And we've both been able to some extent, control our disabilities, and here we are doing radio. I mean, we're on in 46 different countries. You know, we're on major affiliates, and we do this every week, and we have for 7 years now. And to me, that's kind of awesome, you know. And like Old Boy said, you know, don't feel sorry for him. Don't feel sorry for either one of us, man. We got great lives. We're doing awesome, you know. This isn't a pity party. This isn't oh, feel bad for me because this is wrong with me or whatever. This is, to me, it's a story of triumph, you know. I mean, for me, it wasn't that difficult. It's just a matter of concentration and trying to control the tics. Now, sometimes they get out of control, you know, and I got to stop it. And that's why I record the show and then I upload the show. I don't do the show live, because if I do the show live, there's always a chance that I go into a really bad episode of tics and I can't control it. And then I'm just off for 5-10 minutes, however long it takes me to get back under control to where I can do the show again. And having a live show would not be pretty. But in this format, I'm able to film the show, and then if there is episodes like that, I can stop and I can cut that part out when I edit it and then put it up, and then upload that to the server for the radio show and everything. It all works out pretty well, and that's partially because of our own hard work and determination, and it's also partially because of technology has gotten to the point that makes that possible now, and so that's a cool thing. I just wanted to kind of share that because I know how people are sometimes. They will look down on people and they will find out that you have something wrong with you, and they'll use that against you. But as far as I'm concerned, man, what Old Boy has been able to do is awesome. Old Boy's a smart guy. Some people think that he's not because he can't articulate himself very well sometimes, but there's a lot going on up here. It may not get out of here all the time, but I know that it's going on up here. He's not a dumb guy. He understands a lot more than you think he understands, and he can really come up with some good ideas, so some different perspectives on things that always have and always will probably open my mind up and make me say, wow, I never thought of it that way. And then that gets me going on a whole new path of thinking, and I've come up with solutions because I was put on a different path by him with something he said. So I just want to say that because people talk, and people like to start crap. And believe me, there's no animosity or any space in between me and Old Boy. He's my brother. I love him. He always will be. And I always have his back, and he's valuable as hell. I know he gets down on himself a little bit sometimes when he struggles to say a word and can't get it out. But not that big of a deal. I mean, to be honest with you, I usually edit those things out anyway, so you guys don't even know it happens. He knows it happens, and it bothers him sometimes. But just for his sake, listening, I also edit out times when I have bad episodes of tics, and it's happened filming the show before, to where I'll go into a massive tick fest, as I call them, where you're just twitching and geeking and, making all kinds of weird noises and doing stupid crap. And I just cannot get it back under control for 30 seconds to a minute, 2 minutes. And I edit all that out so that the audience doesn't have to see that, so they can just enjoy a show without having to hear all of that nonsense going on, So anyway, that's a little bit for you guys so that you know a little bit more about us. You probably never would have guessed watching this show. And there's some of you who have been watching every episode for 7 years. And you probably didn't know that about either one of us. And you probably never would have known if we hadn't have told you. And that means we're doing our job. That means we're doing it right, But I just want to thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you. I love you. And we'll catch you on the next one. Till I speak to you again. Love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you. And so do we. Bye-bye.